Hi, it's Jasmin. You know, that girl who did you know what way before the internet ever existed. Join me and my special guest every week as we talk about anything and everything because nothing is too taboo. So punch your ticket and get on board the Krazy train with me, Jasmin St. All aboard!
Welcome back to another wild ride. Actually, this is the wildest ride in the universe, the Krazy train with Jasmin St. I hope everyone is enjoying the guests I've been bringing on so far. I know I certainly am. And of course, I keep it super professional because sometimes we get hot guys on the show and I totally can't hit on them, which really sucks. But this next guest, years ago when I quit working at XPW Wrestling and I was in ECW Wrestling, I saw this girl, this like really hot redhead with her glasses like that. I'm like, who's that? Who is that bitch? Wait a second. Who is she? It's actually one of my best friends now. I speak to her like every day. We just never worked together in wrestling until now. And did you know she's also a nurse? She has her own company called Sheshardcore, which she is in many ways more than one. But let's welcome to the show, Miss Veronica Caine. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been like over a year of like hopefulness and praying. And finally, poof, you decided, okay, I want to pack my bags and go on your Krazy train. Thank you.
Yeah. I bought myself a ticket, a one-way ticket. So I am super happy to finally be here with you. Like how much do we talk, every day on like a regular basis about literally everything. So this is like kind of a peek into the real life here.
Yeah, but I don't know how many guys, I don't know how many guys are actually going to like us after they hear like what we say and what we talk about. But like, who cares? The way some of these guys talk, it's like ridiculous. I don't even want to know them half the time.
Yeah,
but
I'm not here. I'm here to talk to you. I don't care what guys think.
I know, they just totally suck. Like one thing that fascinates me with guys, and I know this is the craziest thing, they always get intimidated, and you have to be very intimidating towards most men, I'm sure. But what guys fail to realize is any man out there in the real world has a chance with any woman you want. Like, so long as there's no restraining order intact, you have a chance with me, with her, with some really hot girl you see in the street. So you just got to pursue it, right?
I mean, I say shoot your shot. I'm a risk taker myself. So, yeah. I mean, somebody could have a stellar personality. Or, a giant cock.
Wow, I don't know if I'm that shallow. Yeah, okay, we're shallow, but most people want to know, okay, so most people know Veronica Caine and who she is who listen to this because everyone's a wrestling fan amongst other things that aren't so peachy keen or very lily white. Now, when you first crossed over into pro wrestling, did you like wrestling growing up?
I didn't really watch much wrestling as a kid. What I saw was mostly Glow, which I thought that was pretty friggin' cool. And, I saw like a little bit of WWE, but I never got like the fever and, I never got like super into it. As a teenager, whenever I was more into probably actual soap operas. So now it's soap operas, but like with, steroids.
Yeah.
So, okay, with big biceps and lots of blood.
That's a really good way to describe it. But when we first started at XPW, did you think Rob Black was crazy? Like, did you even watch any of the old XPW shows, or did you just go straight into it with whatever he told you he was going to do?
Well, I actually had a little exposure to XPW before I, got on board because my first actual live wrestling event was XPW, which I've said this before in Van Nuys, of all places. So, it was Rob hired a few girls to kind of come out and be eye candy, and we actually had some signs and we stood out on the street trying to get like foot traffic or, just someone to come buy a ticket. And I had no idea what I was in store for, but I stuck around and watched the show, and it was hilarious and cool and, crazy and violent and weird. And I loved it. And immediately was like, I think I could do this. And then I started dating white trash Johnny Webb. And I know he was my boyfriend for like 9 years. So out of, XVW came that. And so about a year into us dating, is when I jumped in and started being Veronica Caine. But prior to that, I was going to events. So I was at the sports arena, or there was a Hollywood show where my friend came with me, and she flashed the crowd, and it was like a big thing because it was a no. And yeah, so
Yeah, I remember that. You were there.
I was there.
I don't remember you. I don't remember you being there.
She was my guest.
Sorry.
I was meek and mild, and minding my P's and Q's, and she was just and yeah. So, but,
was she blonde?
No, she's a brunette. Randy Rach.
Oh, her. I don't remember that. I remember the other incident at Heatwave, like 2000, like Heatwave 2000. That's what I remember, or whenever it was. That's the incident I was talking about. Now, I remember Randy because you guys were in a Sublime video at one point. What was that experience like for you?
It was cool. I moved to LA sort of like I do on a whim. Like, there was nothing really interesting going on where I was at in Silicon Valley, where I'm from. And Randy was my best friend. We were working at a little place called the Pink Poodle, and we decided she wanted to go back to Southern California, which was kind of home for her. And I was like, well, I'll go with you. And the rest was history. She actually went down there with the intent of getting into the adult film business. And it was something that had piqued my interest because as a dancer, I was a good dancer. I looked good. I had the moves, and I would see these girls come to town and just clean up. They'd get a fat paycheck. They'd be sweeping money off the stage. And I'm like, how do I get in on that? And the way you get in on that is to establish some kind of a name for yourself. And so, video was a way to do that at the time. And, but like I said, I wasn't quite ready to jump into it, but I was intrigued and went to Southern California with Randy. So, through her, I met a lot of people, and she was working, did some shoots with Gregory Dark, and that's how she ended up kind of getting on board the Sublime thing. And I would tag along, she'd be like, oh, this is my friend. And people would be like, when are you going to get in there? When do I get to shoot you? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. So cartwheels on the beach, handstands. That's what I did in the video. Handstands on the beach, which I don't know if I could do that. No, I probably could.
I got to look for that. But now when you're saying the Pink Poodle, that brings back memories because I was a feature there once before.
Were you in
It
San
was
Jose?
like so depressing. I did well. Huh?
In San Jose.
What was that?
It's in San Jose.
Yeah, it was really nice, but it was kind of depressing because there's nothing to do around there. I'm like, there are no record stores around here. Like, what do you do in San Jose? But there were tech nerds that came in there, and the girls seemed kind of like depressed as well. I don't know if that was just me thinking this or whatever, because I was always like high end energy and just always happy.
Yeah.
For the exact reasons you mentioned before. It's the paycheck and everything else.
When there's a when there's a feature performer, because the house girls, don't go up on stage as much, so they make less money. They were probably just, you were probably a bitch to them because, you're you. So.
If I was a bitch to them, of course I was. I'm like, too fucking, like, seriously, woe is me. Okay, just like, the thing is, the house girls fail to realize you have direct access to these guys once I'm done on stage. I don't want to talk to them. I just want the money. Then I have other things to do with my night. You go talk to them. You go grind on their cocks, not me.
You know,
Not that you did that
there
up
were
there.
two record stores, no, 3 record stores within walking distance, depending on when it was. So I don't know about this no record stores near the Pink Poodle. One of my first jobs was at Tower Records. And I worked in, yeah, just down the street from the Poodle. Yeah.
See, I just didn't bother looking. I think my roadie kept me away from those places because I'd probably end up spending time in there and spending all my money at the record store. I remember there was one East Indian guy that would come to the shows. He had like long curly hair. He said he had a record store, but I don't want to go like where his record store was because he seemed kind of like on this just, off.
Yeah. Well,
so to speak.
You have good instincts on stuff like that.
Yeah, isn't it scary how I could see things? Like every time I've mentioned something to you on the phone, like something happens, like that whole CM Punk rumor. I'm like, I just have this sick feeling that he's going to end up in XPW. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know. You're like, oh, then poof, they had that little joke slide of him working in a match with Necro Butcher. I'm like,
right,
losing my shit at that point.
Yeah.
Like my stomach fell to the ground. But it's a sixth sense. So getting back to XPW, what was your first interaction like with Rob Black? Was he like all you heard he was like, or was he just very nice?
I had run into Rob a little bit prior to that, again, because my friend, he was, I think, at Elegant prior to forming Extreme Associates. I think I could be wrong. And Tony Biner, who was a good friend of mine, worked over there. Randy and some of the girls, they did like a Charlie's Angels spoof over there. And I think Rob was around at that time. That's probably when I maybe first ran into him and, kind of, put a name to a face or whatever. He was young, he was a little bit younger than I was when I met him, and he was he was pretty crazy. But no, like I remember going into do a little bit of work at Extreme Associates, and I would hear over the loudspeaker, this was my first experience working for the company, not as a contract person or anything. And the loudspeaker, it's he says my real name over the loudspeaker, and he's like, please come to my office, and make some references to something I could do over the loudspeaker,
Just a loudspeaker, no big deal.
I was like, that's not happening. I think maybe that's why Rob.
That's Rob for you, though.
Yeah, have managed to have the strange friendship that we've had throughout the years. Is some of us didn't go there. I'll just leave that alone.
Yeah, I know. No, it's I've had this strange relationship with Rob 25 years later. It's you know what, why not? I'm just going to text him. Let me ask Tommy. Hey, Tommy, can I, you think it's okay if I speak to Rob? And excuse my face, by the way, I just had Morpheus 8 with baby embryo and echosomes pushed into it. This is in case people want to know why I date really young guys. It's for that exact reason. Because if you swallow, you get their genetics in you somehow, I guess, right?
Right. I feel like that's how you stay young.
Exactly. It doesn't work the other way around, guys. So yeah, getting back to this whole thing, I know I sidetracked for a second. Yeah, Rob's a very interesting person, and a lot of people have come in contact with him over the years either stay really close with him or they just break up, then they get back together somehow. Now, when you started working at the XPW shows, you picked up ring psychology pretty fast, I think, because you're one of the, you're very good at telling stories and you're very good at promos and everything else and working stuff out. How long do you think it took to get that skill? And did White Trash Johnny Webb help you with any of that?
I guess it's just something that kind of came naturally. Obviously I was doing a bit of acting at the time, so I just wrapped my head around things, fairly easily. And athletically too, I was kind of inclined that way, having had been a dancer for so long. And so yeah, I don't know. It all just fit. It made sense to me. It was fun. I like being Veronica because, I tend to be a pretty like laid back, chill, go with the flow kind of person. And so for me to be like, to get to be like type A asshole, bossy a little bit, like was fun. I was definitely tapping into something that I normally don't. So I had a good time with it. And we got to kind of run with things, and the boys were really silly, GQ money and chaos. They would really get like goofy with stuff, and I was almost like the straight man, I was kind of like the, hey, you gotta be serious guy, and as far as Webb helping me to understand, I mean, I don't know so much about that, but I definitely did get pointers in the ring, from Webb. And he was really like protective, like if we were going to be doing something, he would kind of want to know what it was, make sure that, I felt confident and safe about, whatever it was I was going to do. But I've mentioned before, like Smiley, GQ Money, and Angel actually were kind of like my big coaches, especially when we match stuff to do, like actual wrestling stuff.
Obviously, you're in the ring. You have, someone like White Trash Johnny Webb, who I remember meeting the very first time with Missy Hyatt, working with him at the beginning of XPW. So then you're in this relationship with him. Did you find that it affected your work in the ring at all, or was he super supportive of that?
No, he was very supportive of it. Like I said, like he would, if we were planning to do something, he'd kind of want to know what it was and, see how my comfort level and make sure whoever I was working with was, going to take care of me.
I loved Angel. I only met Angel at Halloween in Hell last year. I'm jealous of you because you had a chance to work with him in a program. What was that whole raw sewage match like? Like that was just flat out, like it looked like poop. It looked like raw sewage. It looked like everything imaginable out of our bowels in that thing. What was that like? And I don't want to ask whose idea it was because I think I know that answer already.
That stemmed from an attack, basically. So it was, it was like Angel was a part of the Black Army at the time, and we were having some kind of feuding going on back and forth there. And so it was the Enterprise that we did a thing on the TV show where we were like leaving a convenience store or something, and they pulled up in this truck, and it was like this like plastic like tank truck that like pesticide spray truck or something, and they had loaded it with something brown, something brown and liquid, and they hosed us down in the parking lot with it, and we had to challenge them to this the raw sewage match so we could get back at so
yeah, it seemed really gross, by the way. That's a Rob Black production for you, though, back then. And you just seemed like such a team player. Okay, all right, cool, no problem, sure. Or that's what we're going to do, fine, no problem, let's do this. And I could tell that because last year at Rebirth, you seemed so on board with everything. Like, even at Halloween in Hell, with that type of a match. I've never thought in a million years I'd see you bloodied, and that just freaked me out.
Yeah?
I have to say.
Yeah, I never got color in XPW back in the day. I mean, well, obviously, like, right. I couldn't, we couldn't really afford to be having any kind of, cuts and junk like that going on with our faces and stuff anyway. But I took my share of bumps, but, bumps are one thing. Power bomb from Schlack is another thing in a ring full of broken glass. So... Yeah, I had some, this girl, okay, you need to stop.
I don't think she likes the fact you took a power bomb in the ring from Schlack and you were bruised up. I don't think she likes that.
Yeah, I think that you also didn't like that. I think you were,
you freaked me out because
I remember.
Yeah, you guys are like, yeah.
My mom would watch the pay-per-views. So I knew she had bought the pay-per-view for Halloween in Hell 3. And as soon as I got out of the ring, I like went and texted her. I was like, I'm okay. And she's like, I'm sleeping. They weren't watching live. They were going to watch like the next day.
I know if I was someone's mom and I saw that, I'd freak out. Like my mom freaked out for me taking pile drivers off a top rope, and she didn't know I was okay. Then she saw me walking around backstage after. She's like, oh, okay, fine. But I totally get that. Did you ever think XPW would be where it is now? Like, what do you like just with death matches? Is this what you were expecting when you came back?
I mean, when I came back, it was California. I mean, when we went to the
Yeah.
first show in California, it was, a deathmatch tournament. And I was, I've been very down for like the deathmatch stuff, since the beginning. Because it was just what we did. It's what I knew. Like, I didn't know a lot of wrestling. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of experience with it, as a kid. So the first live events that I went to, people were bleeding and people were, going through tables and all kinds of, crazy stuff. And that's, to me, like, that was the show. It was interesting because I went to a more straightforward wrestling show lately and I was kind of like,
Yeah.
kind of boring. So maybe I'm a little spoiled by the violence there, and my dark violent side comes out. I don't know, but yeah, I always was comfortable around it. Supreme, we were very good friends. Our birthdays were a day apart. So we'd always joke that they were the Gemini twins. But I picked many a thumbtack out of his head, and and web, and whatnot. And so when we kind of got rolling up again with XPW 2.0 here, you and I, we kind of joined forces a little bit. I guess maybe it's that, being of a, particular, maybe maternal-ish, kind of like, hey, is everybody okay here? Hey, does anybody need anything? Can we clean up those cuts? Here, we got a Band-Aid here. And we just started to like add on little by little to our like first aid kit and, what we were doing backstage, for people when they came back after,
Yeah.
like especially something like a tournament where it's just like every 20 minutes, it's two more people that are just bleeding out of, every body part. So yeah, that was something that sort of
scary.
came about, in this, rebirth, I guess, of XPW was, integrating my nursing, because I went to nursing school immediately after I retired from all that. And I've been a dialysis nurse for 13 years. And so it just sort of is my second nature. Like if I see somebody, fall down, I run over and go check it out. Or, so being at XPW show with all these death matches, I was like, I need to help. That's, what can we do here? And so that was kind of that's been a different take on this situation. Previously, it was all different for me because, I was still, young and performing and that kind of stuff. And now it's something I do just because I enjoy it, because I like to be able to be of help for a few more years, possible.
Many more years. Don't say that. Well, what you're doing is amazing because I think XPW wrestling sets a different standard in the dressing room for the well-being of the wrestlers. And a lot of people, like other locker rooms, don't have this. So what a lot of you guys don't know, guys and gals, that is, and whatever you decide to identify as today, even though there are only two genders. So she actually has a service, okay? And it started from the XPW wrestling or XPW wrestling locker room, where she goes to different shows. She was just a Tournament of Death in Delaware for CZW, then MLW, and then this upcoming weekend, Brand X Wrestling, I think is what it's called. Yep. And these guys need help. Okay, so it's not just Band-Aids. There's glass in there sometimes. There are these stitches. Sooner than later, it's going to be like B12 shots, IV infusions, which these guys do need. But no locker room has anything like that. Do you think that's something that everyone needs to have back there? And maybe they could actually, they have to put it in the budget, of course.
Yeah, well, we kind of know how the budget goes with indie wrestling. The wrestlers don't really have a lot of money to put towards that kind of the injuries that they can have. And the promotions also, like they're on under a certain, financial strain as well. I mean, they're not making big bucks. So, They're not going to have an ambulance at the ready unless, the state requires it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've seen situations where we show up and there's not a paper towel in the facility, and here's people that are going to be, bleeding and, dirty, rolling around the floor, thing and whatever. And like, they have no way to be hygienic, to, monitor, any control over infection. And they're doing it night after night, week after week. They're investing their actual flesh into this, and we love it. We're out there eating it up and applauding them. And I see people, a wrestler could barely get out of the ring, barely have a seat, and somebody is coming up trying to take a picture of their wounds or get a blood imprint, of their face or, whatever it is. And I mean, I that's great. That's fine. But it's like just that thought of, what these people are actually giving out there. They're literally giving, their blood, their flesh, a portion of their lives, how they're going to feel later on in life, how they're going to walk later on in life, how their back's going to feel, like all that kind of stuff people don't take into account. And, we need to invest in them, because some of the loveliest people that I've met, sweetest, gentle, kind people are deathmatch wrestlers. I don't know what it is about. You better lay down.
Hi, doggy.
That's enough.
Meow. I should think it's a cat. Yeah. No, they are some of the nicest people we've met. Yeah. Deathmatch wrestlers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And,
they have kids.
And they work hard and they're driving all over the place and they've got families and, and there's no one, when they come back there, it's just like, I feel like there should be somebody looking out for them. There should be somebody making sure they're okay, seeing if they need anything. And, we have, every type of person in the locker room, from our salty, seasoned, grumpy, grouchy necro.
What? Him?
No, I mean, unless we did something with his eye one day, but for the most part, he's good with like, a towel and some rubbing alcohol and some crazy. I believe he's told me that's the trifecta of first aid. So, for guys like that's the only.
Well, that's what they're used to. Well, this is something different that we're presenting,
right?
You
want these people to be able to have a long career and to not have, some crazy injury that, they can't get taken care of. And there's been wrestlers that have like almost bled out there, that have had to be helicoptered, I mean, there's been some wild stuff in deathmatch wrestling with, some of the injuries that they've had. And I just, my heart goes out to them because, some of my friends and loved ones, our friends and loved ones, are people who are doing this. So, just because maybe my time in the ring or in the spotlight or whatever is done, this I feel like is something that I can have as like my legacy, is to try and, create something that just makes life a little bit better for people that are, they're giving us this escape, and
mm-hmm.
People say that about wrestling, like, oh, it's, you can suspend disbelief and you can, escape for a while and whatever. Yeah. Okay. Wrestling. But when it comes to deathmatch, when it comes to that level, that visceral involvement, like you're so invested in the match and in, these people and in, what's happening, that, it's a deeper, further escape in my opinion, than other forms of entertainment. So, and it's what I think makes the fan base so loyal and so freaking crazy, but like so loyal because they know, the ones that really are paying attention know what, these guys and girls are giving, when they step foot in the ring, and they know that they're being, these wrestlers are being loyal to the fans by providing them with, something they haven't gotten to see, or, they've always wanted to see, or just, something amazing and entertaining and humorous, and, this, it's got a little bit of all of it. So I don't know. I've fallen for the community, I think, of deathmatch wrestling. Just really, really great people.
It's really strange. It's like the last place I thought I'd be, because I get squeamish around blood, but I went to school for phlebotomy, so I was taught how to do stitches and everything, but I just don't like doing them unless, like, I really have to, I'll do it. But we're in a locker room where people really need it. That's when I brought the zip tie stitches in, because that's like the next best thing without me having to take a needle and do everything, which is a big thing, because a lot of these guys don't have health insurance. And as fans, I feel as though, okay, you guys are coming to the shows. What promoters can do to finance something like this is tack on an extra $5 to the ticket if you have to go towards someone qualified, such as yourself, to have the supplies in the back, to have the wellness of the guys so they can do the next show next month for you. Or even if fans want to donate in some way, shape, or form, so you guys can actually enjoy it with your sick, fucked up, twisted minds, because you people are sicker in the heads than we are. I'm sick in the head, she's sick in the head, we all are. But the thing is, you people have some serious issues, like more issues than Playboy. And that's truly the, that's what I think. I'm sorry. That's truly Miss Jasmin's brash, brazen opinion. But in the meantime, it's just self-financed, by Veronica herself. So if there's any way you guys can do something, we're not begging you, but you do want to come see Necker at the next show. You want to go see whatever wrestler it is with the light tubes. I was hoping you were at this past California. Hillbilly comes up to me, Jasmin, I got to get this thing out of my head. I think it was a gusset or whatever it was. And
yeah,
I'm just like standing there. I'm like, I'm not touching you with anything, because if that stuff's like gets on me, I'm just going to start freaking out. Yeah. But I didn't know how to pull it out. I don't think I was strong enough to pull it out, or if I was, I don't know like Joe Dredd had to do it for me. You could have done it.
Yeah, I totally would have done it.
I know you would have, but I think part of this too. Yeah, well, you get turned on by it, which, I used to tell guys, I want to cut you and have sex with you in your own blood. But now, you can't tell a deathmatch wrestler that, because that's an actuality. And now that I think about it, there's one time and only one time in my life I had sex with a guy in his own blood. It was a deathmatch wrestler, but I can't say who. Speaking of which, because you dated someone in this business, do you feel as though it's given you more of an attachment to helping these guys?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. When when you're close with somebody, well, it's funny because you said, I want to have sex with you in your own blood or whatever. And, for about a year and a half, my significant other was the current king of the death match over at XPW.
Yes.
And so, like it or not, like their sex was had when there was blood. No.
See what I mean?
It is what it is. Like, you get blood on everything, it's just crazy. But no, like being with somebody and, loving somebody that you watch, breaking their body, breaking their back, got pieces of glass, lodged in different places, that are working their way out. And, when you're like, have affection for somebody like that, you're obviously really taking care of them and really want to make sure that they're, safe and healthy and, are going to be around and be in good shape. So it's basically just that, translated to, all the boys and girls. I mean, because they all deserve it. They all deserve it. And it feels good to, to be able to do something that's a little bit special. When they come back in the locker room, like, you hand them a Band-Aid or an ice pack and they're like, thank you. I mean, it's just, I'll say, Eric Dillinger. He was at XPW and then he was at TOD and he was so sweet. Just like, oh, thank you. You're just the best. Just thank you so much. And I'm like, You know, it really feels good. Like, you know, to me, like it's not something I'm not doing this to try and, you know, make a profit or anything like that. I am going to be looking into ways to monetize it, but just so that
Yes.
I can, you know, continue to finance for the supplies, for, you know, any cost of travel. You know, I mean, obviously, if a promotion can afford a little something, great. But, you know, I'm planning on doing some T-shirts and things that the fans, I think, might dig, with some little like deathmatch captions and stuff on them. So, you know, the idea is to kind of get it to pay for itself, to then, you know, as I'm learning things, as we learn things this last year and a half on like, well, you got to do this. You can't use that kind of bandage. You need to use this. And oh, if you don't wrap it, it's going to, you know, and so, oh, that's not the right kind of crazy glue. You got to use the gel crazy glue. So I'm like learning little by little because I'm not a trauma nurse. You know, my specialty really more is educating and teaching people how to take care of themselves. So the YouTube channel will be coming, you know.
Yes.
It's little by little because, you know, the shoot job takes up a lot of my time. Fucking annoying. But it pays the bills. So yeah, I'd like to put together, you know, some little information. Hey, here's how we dealt with this, and, you know, be able to share that with somebody, you know, that's a deathmatch wrestler or promotion, or, you know, aftercare person, in, you know, some state that's 2,000 miles away. They're like, oh yeah, I saw that, you know, she used this, or, you know, she interviewed this one wrestler who had this crazy injury and told this great story of, you know, how they dealt with it and whatever. So it's just, it's a combination of, you know, couple of things that I love, which is, you know, taking care of people and wrestling, you know, specifically the nasty, dirty, bloody, you know, horrifically violent stuff.
Yeah, you might want to pull back on taking care of people because some fan might pass out and they might be expecting you to give like mouth to mouth resuscitation. So I just want to let you know that ahead of time. There's always going to be that one guy, hey, can you give me mouth to mouth, baby? Yeah, no. But you said there's some gadget to like put on their mouth so you don't have to physically touch these people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And believe me, like our kit that we have has like literally, I'm prepared for a fan to have a heart attack. You know, I'm prepared to do CPR and, you know, not have to swap spit with a stranger. I mean, unless they're hot. But yeah, I've got some different things.
They can stick their tongue out.
I watched somebody
but they can stick their tongue out through that and touch you. Ugh. Huh?
Right. I can't remember who it was at an XCW show that got a fish hook, you know, through their mouth. And, you know, I learned like, you got to be able to cut that, you know, you got to be able to cut it and pull it out. I don't know if it was Kit or JJ or I don't know, one of those guys, I think.
It was JJ, I think.
And it was JJ. Yeah. And I saw it and just thought like, note to self, like put some wire cutters in there. And like the last show we talked about using the wire cutters if we needed them with the barbed wire, you know, getting wound around, Necro's hair and stuff like that. So you got to like, you know, come up with things on the fly. I've got these great little like hors d'oeuvre forks that are for picking thumbtacks out of people. I gave a one to the ref at TOD because he had little thin little shoes on. He was dying because they were the thumbtacks were poking through to his feet. So like he came back and we, you know, I got my fork out and like took them all off. He was like, oh, that's cool.
Is that what was in my socks? Oh my God, that makes so much sense. Okay, yeah. I had like thumbtacks in my sock once, like at the bottom of it. I felt like something was poking through. Now it makes sense. That's what it was from.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. I've got to get my hands on those too.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You see, nobody would ever expect you to be doing this type of work. And it's so like charitable in a way. And I think a lot of more people need to get on board as far as promotions. Like take care of your wrestlers because they take care of your ticket sales. They take care of the door for you. And they take care of like putting on this freak show to some. And you guys are just skimping. Like go rob a bank. Go something.
I think promotions.
Did I just say to rob a bank?
Promoters could do better for sure. But I also like to give, you know, wrestlers little tidbits of information on, certain things that they might keep with them, like those little the zip stitch bandages that kind of
They're good.
Lacerations close. They're the next best thing to stitches. And a lot of times these guys, like you said, they might not have health insurance. They also might be getting on a plane pretty soon, and they want to go home to their family, and they'd rather just deal with it when they get home. They don't want to go sit in an ER, or they are meeting a ring rat, or they've got an 8-ball of blow to go to.
They got to do blow off someone's vagina.
I'm just
yes.
saying that people have plans after the show, whether wholesome or not, and they don't want to go to the hospital, or they can't go to the hospital, and it's like, so if there's something we can do to sort of buy them the time to get through the night or whatever it is. But I'm often telling people, like, when you get home, go see your doctor, go get antibiotics, whatever. Do they?
Yeah. So you see, we're not just a bunch of like demonic, debaucherous whores, and these zip stitches that we're talking about, like there's one specific wrestler. He had to get zip stitched by me before he went home to his wife and whatever, his little holier than thou life in Florida. But it was fun. It was fun zip stitching his forehead and fucking him in his own blood too. So that's probably something people don't know about. I had to bring it up. Only because like you bring this out of me somehow. I mean, heck. But moving right along. So what's the name of a YouTube station I know you're going to start doing your deathmatch tutorials for people. What is your YouTube?
It's all She's Hardcore.
Okay.
She's Hardcore.
So you guys could expect little short videos on things, and eventually, hopefully, there'll be maybe a Q&A for you, or people could actually email you and ask you questions on things. But there's nothing like a touch from Miss Caine. I'm telling you this firsthand. Like, you want her doing your stitches. You want her cleaning you up. It's just a different feeling. Are you going to be at Halloween in Hell 4?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
don't abandon me, but if it is what it is. And I'll just have to, fend on my own with this without you, which really sucks, but I get it. And, when these guys skim on buying things, I know sometimes the rubbing alcohol, there's a difference between green rubbing alcohol and clear rubbing alcohol, and people don't get that. And someone brought green alcohol in the backstage that one show. Do you remember that? Yeah. That freaked me out because it's got all kinds of weird chemicals in it. So you really can't skimp on good healthcare.
But the alcohol is not the thing to use. It's like coming at somebody with a million cuts on their body with alcohol. I've got something that's better, that we use professionally that doesn't burn. So I think that people are, they're thankful for that. Usually when I come after them with, something like a moist, gauze or something, I'm like, it's not alcohol. It's not going to burn. They're like, oh. So, we got that going for us.
It's a special brew, by the way. Like, you can get it directly from her because eventually she's going to come out with her own little kits. You guys could take in your little bags with you. And eventually this will be worldwide. So it's not just going to be limited here, but eventually you'll be able to get this worldwide. But for now, if there's a way, if you want to fly her out to work at your show, she's available. I'm taking liberties with her. And if you want to pay her, obviously, that's the other way to go with this. If fans want to donate or anything like that, she's at shows. All right, you know what shows to find her at. You know where to find her on the web. And here's another question. Is there any chance ever of the Enterprise being restarted? Everyone wants to know that question because I like that personally.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah. It's gotta be right. It's gotta be the right group of people. And I don't know. Never say never. But right now, I'm kind of keeping my focus on, where I can be of more help. But you never know. We'll see.
And if people want to see you online, like if they want to go online to contact you for bookings or look at your photos, of course, where do they go?
Well, I'm just kind of like, this whole concept is sort of new. And so, I got the domain, I got the YouTube channel. It's, first She's Hardcore. Um, and eventually, like, I'll get with somebody to get some content up,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where people can do bookings. And she's hardcore at Gmail. And if you're not on my Instagram, which like no one is, because I just made it public. I've been all private for like 20 years, and now I'm kind of like,
Uh-huh.
hey, I'm kind of back a little bit. So yeah, so I just opened it up, and we'll probably see that, starting to grow as I open up a little bit more into promoting, uh, really pushing to get awareness out there. And I like that
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned the little kits that I would like to make up something, so it's like
Yeah.
like a gift basket, if I can't be somewhere or something, have there be a container, and it's got little, Ziplocs with, some alcohol, some Band-Aids, maybe an ice pack, maybe a couple of ibuprofen or something, just something, some kind of aftercare. And as you mentioned, you teased it earlier, um, the potential for infusions and injections. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna stick your steroids in your butt, guys. I mean, I might, but um, no, I will.
Or something else if you want. I mean,
Yeah, and we're gonna probably get into the B12s. I think a lot of people would probably be into that, like, before a show, as well as maybe some infusions, IV infusions for, uh, hangovers, jet lag, the things that happen when we travel, whether it's the wrestlers, the promoters, the wives, whoever is around and is in need. So that is another way that I'm hoping to be able to kind of monetize this, in an effort for it to, pay for itself, and then hopefully, get some other folks on board in different places that,
mm-hmm.
would like to do this type of thing with, combat sports, to get in there and be supportive. I mean, it's been super. It's felt really good to be accepted and welcomed. Like wholeheartedly welcomed by a lot of people. Um, it feels good. So it's something. I just moved to the East Coast last year, at the very end of last year. Um, so I knew almost nobody out here. Um, and it's, with working and everything, like, what I kind of found was the only like really social contact that I had in my comfort zone was, with the wrestling community. And so I'm just gonna embrace that um and roll with that for a while. And I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And um I think we're gonna be able to impact some people in a good way. Excited.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I really do. And I'm so proud of you for doing this. I really am. Like, you don't understand. I'm like, yeah,
Well,
this is kind of cool. Wow. Well, yeah.
yeah,
And
we've
there's
been
the
the
guys
biggest
are really spoiled. Like,
supporter.
we do spoil them.
Yeah, and you've been like my biggest supporter on things, and trying to push me to get
Everything.
out there more, and and then with the medical stuff, and you've got your kind of contacts in that too. So that's been I've been being mentored a little bit, I guess, because I've been so
You
private.
have to.
Uh, it's like coming back out into public and sort of being like, hey, has been kind of new for me, and so it's been great that like we hit it off like right off the bat.
Right? Like, whoever would have thought? Because I just knew, like, I told everyone, it's like, I didn't fucking know this girl, whatever. So I was being nice. I was being Jasmine, but I was being nice. Then when you sat there with your whiskey and then Dirty Ron's there, hey, you girls want it, you ladies want a hit of this joint. It's like, yeah, okay, sure, Mr. Creepy Clown. But he's a nice creepy clown. And then you just become friends with these people. It's a small community and it's a very tight knit community. And
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. We have to look out for one another. Now, if fans want to actually donate to you, do you have a PayPal or a Venmo set up? And that's right. I mean, even if it's $5, $2, $3, fuck, even if it's like $10, just everything goes towards the wrestlers. It's not going towards Morpheus 8. It's not going towards a Louis Vuitton handbag. This is where it's going. Do you have a Venmo
Not
set up
going
for
towards
this
these
yet?
voluptuous lips.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what the job is
Totally
for.
not.
The shoot job. Yeah, they are.
Uh,
They're beautiful though. Do you
yeah.
have Venmo or anything where people could donate, or is there like a tip jar at the shows where guys can come up and put in like $2 or $5 or fucking 25 cents, guys?
I mean, really anything helps. I haven't really set up anything like that. I mean, I've got like,
Okay.
personal Venmo. I couldn't even probably tell you what it is. Probably linked to my other email, Inky Nurse. Um,
Okay, great.
yeah, Inky Nurse at Gmail.
All right. So hit up Inky Nurse at Gmail just for donations towards this cause of helping deathmatch wrestlers. Like no minutia, no stupid emails, just on Venmo, that is what you use. And if you see her at a show or any of the XPW shows that we're at, feel free to donate to the cause. Like there will be a tip jar somewhere. I'll make sure that it's known, trust me. And that weights off the back of the promoter as well. So they don't always have to pitch in, but hopefully more of them do. Thank you so much. And if you want to find Veronica on social media, it's instagram.com/. She's hardcore. And if there anyone, I guess if they want to do bookings with you for signings, are you available for signings as well?
I am. Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're not entirely sure if Veronica is 100% dead and buried at this point. But I mean, if it's something that the fans would be interested in, then I definitely could. I could be VC. I work with a lot of people who don't know what to call me because they all know my real name, and then they also know, the wrestling and adult name. And so like I answer with both. And I thought with this kind of new thing that I'm doing, like I've been Red for years. So people that meet me, that don't know what to call me, they call me Red. Hey, Red, blah, 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 whatever. And it was my first name as a dancer. And so
Really?
I was Red. I was Ravishing Red. That was what the DJs would always say when I would come out. So yeah, I just thought, it's easy. People remember it, whatever. So, Red Ravage RN is now a thing. And I don't know, I might, kind of spin her into something fun and interesting and possibly sexy. We'll see. Yeah.
I could see you doing that. I mean, I could totally see that because you've always been super creative and you definitely have a mind for creativity. So again, guys, if you want to bet online, go to betonline.ag, our main sponsor for Crazy Train podcast and anything on all things Jasmin, betonline.ag. Play with some money, whether it's big or small. And if you want to go ahead and see more of Veronica, go to instagram.com/ she's hardcore. I promise I'll post the link. In the meantime, thank you for, yeah, we will, I promise. But I promise I will see you again sooner than later. This is better, like with FaceTime one day. We got to do that. We got to try that.
Yeah.
Do you have any departing words for the listeners and for your fans that are going to listen in on this?
It's good to be back. I had a strange sort of coming back into the world of wrestling. I was sort of in, but then I was leery because of, my private life and my other professional life. And it's now that is something that, I've realized it's in my blood. It's what happens, right? With wrestling, it gets in your blood. And you just like, I always wanted to like be able to contribute something. I never felt like, oh, I have to be the big star and everybody needs to look at me. I just love to be like a part of something that's really cool that makes people happy. So it feels good to be back. I do very little of this kind of stuff, the interviews and podcasts and whatnot.
Thank you.
Has to be somebody that I trust. And, I talk to you on a daily basis, so it's kind of funny. Now we're just doing it when, people are watching us. So,
I know, right? And we're not half naked, like in cryotherapy or something.
Yeah. But it's
which
been
is like
wonderful.
super important.
It's been a lot of fun, really interesting. Reacquainting with the XPW folks and Rob and getting to know Kat, who's great. and then getting out there and meeting people from other promotions, because I haven't had a lot of experience being in locker rooms. And just know that, when you see me around, like, you're working with somebody who's professional. I know what I'm doing. I'm there to provide aftercare for, people that need it. And I'm not, oh, the porn girls here in the locker room, like, I'm sure on occasion I'm going to get the advances, and maybe, maybe once in a while I'll take somebody up on it. We'll see, but probably.
Whoa, well, excusez-moi. Well, a lot of girls that were in adult, believe it or not, do things with wellness. Like Nikki Dial is a mental health coach.
I love it.
Dominique Simone is going to school for nursing. There are a couple of other girls I know that do stuff with wellness, like Tara Patrick does stuff with wellness. So does Taylor Wayne. I ended up doing stuff with wellness briefly. I don't know what it is. I think it's just you're in a position where you really can't be judged at that point. And to judge anyone in that business is really retarded, because it makes no difference. There are people out there, even in like the Bible Belt, watching this stuff and jacking off. So it's not demonic debauchery and crap like that. It's this is real stuff. It's nursing. It's taking care of people, and you have to trust people with yourself. And I would trust Veronica to stick a needle in me to do an infusion, even though I won't sit still for it because I freak out over the sight of needles. Yeah,
you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I jump up. I do. Yes, I do. And, for a lot of people like listening to this as well, Sabu once had to stitch his own injury with his hair. And it shouldn't be like that in any locker room anywhere in the world. And like I said, you tack on the $5 of the ticket price or $3 just to pay the nurse. It's totally worth it, especially if it's Nurse Red Ravage, a.k.a. Ms. Caine.
AKA.
Thank you.
Yeah, lots of AKAs there.
Like, what the hell, dude, right?
I took the name that she's hardcore name because I love the chant. When somebody does something of like really just poor judgment, and just love it, because like it's so fun to watch and it's so great. We're like, oh, look what they just did. He's hardcore, she's hardcore. And I'm like, I've taken different turns in my life. And tried different things that are pretty wild. I've always been sex positive, and in supportive of, the growth of women, like myself and yourself, that people don't understand, that we're multidimensional, and that, we're actually pretty interesting and a lot of fun, outside of the fun that, is already assumed. But I loved, I just took that term hardcore and thought it's what it means is it's somebody who's willing to take risks, somebody who's willing to push the limits, and especially like in the arts, it came from hardcore punk rock. It came from, hardcore adult films, and then into the wrestling, and then it became its own like adjective, like, oh, she's a hardcore Republican, or, he's a hardcore vegetarian, or whatever it is. And I don't know, I just liked it. It sounded fun. It adds that little titillating, like, does she mean hardcore? Or, like, what does she mean?
Well, yeah, we mean that too.
And yes, I do.
Or you could find out.
I mean all of it. I mean sex, drugs, rock and roll, violence, like whatever, whatever is exciting for people. So,
yeah,
we're gonna, try and keep it exciting.
And no one judges you, by the way. Yeah, where's the feather?
I've never been one to care if people judge me or not. That's not really my business.
Thank you. I just want to make sure the feather is there.
It's not a feather. You always call it a feather. It's a whole ass wing.
Oh, yeah. It is a wing. Well, some guy wrote under one of your photos in a bikini, "Lucky feather." So I replicated him. Okay, so it's a wing. It's an angel wing, guys, girls, whatever. But yeah, it's just I thought it was a feather this whole time. I prefer to say that.
I mean, it sounds cuter.
Just to like carry on from the previous producer of the show, he saw her photos and went gaga over this thing hanging between her boobs. But yeah, so it's more than just sex. It's more than just good looks. It's Veronica going out there doing her thing and doing what a lot of people should be doing. So I will see you sooner than later, whether it's this coast or that coast or somewhere in Japan one day, maybe. Ooh.
Maybe.
And yeah. So don't forget, guys, go visit her on the web under She's Hardcore. I will be posting links to the YouTube as well on my socials when that is more active. And of course, guys, don't forget to go on betonline.ag. They have every type of game for every type of guy out there, whether it's casino slots, football, baseball, card games for the more sophisticated guys that like whiskey and cigars.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, my dear, and thank you. And bye, Girly. That's the dog. I don't know what her dog's name is. I just call her Girly. Yes, thank you.